one of the things that's really special about this story and the film is that it's a lot of things, but it's also a basketball story, it's a sports story, and I think that's something that is really universal and that people can relate to in so many different ways, all kinds of people. And I hope that that's sort of like an entryway or a gateway to whoever you are, wherever you're from, seeing this story in this community and seeing themselves in it. And I think that, you know, as an actor, that's always something I'm thinking about when I'm reading scripts or when I'm deciding or wondering if I want to be a part of something, is like, is it going to have that property where it connects people and it brings people together and it shows us that we have more in common than not? And this to me was like 100% that, and done in the most special way with the most special people.
I'm working a lot in the Indigenous communities for the last 20 years. One thing that I'm really proud that REZ BALL is tackling is speaking about mental health with the young men. That's something that's very taboo in a lot of our Native communities and has always been. And I feel that issue at its core is directly related to a lot of our other issues that we have in our communities, missing and murdered Indigenous women, and just like how we treat ourselves and how we see ourselves in terms of like self-confidence and self-esteem issues. So I think that is my greatest joy and my greatest pull to REZ BALL, is tackling this issue that I would even say in Native communities. You know, I think for men in general, young men being able to have a safe space to talk about what they're going through, and I hope this movie sheds light on a topic that is very, very prevalent in a lot of our Native communities. And again, suicide is a topic that I think anyone around the world could resonate with, you know, not being able to freely talk about what's going on in here and here. So that's what's drawn me to the film.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think the genre, the sports film genre, I think was a great sort of jumping off point for us. You know, I think in terms of like the story we're trying to tell, it invites people who aren't from necessarily this walk of life to, you know, put themselves in the shoes of a character in a sort of a genre that they might be familiar with, right? So, and for us, like my co-writer Sterling and I, early on when we were working on the project, it was always like, okay, we're not going to reinvent the sports film, so it's not the what that's going to be different, but it can be the how. You know, so that initially was a very terrifying prospect of like, how do you approach an Indigenous sports movie? But then it actually there became a great freedom with it, because there was all this sort of new territory that we could sort of explore. And, you know, for example, even like one of the things that we were very adamant about, you know, like for myself growing up watching films like Dangerous Minds or like Freedom Writers or whatever white savior movie, you know, they come into the inner city and they help the you know, rowdy inner city kids to, you know, find themselves, whatever. We didn't want to do that, right? So we knew that we wanted to have this insular story that somebody, the coach, for example, was somebody from the community. And, you know, Jessica, who plays Heather Hobbs, you know, she was able to sort of inhabit that role. And so when you're telling the story from the inside out, then all these other possibilities, and as you start sort of pulling on that thread, all these other possibilities start presenting themselves. Like, well, okay, so if a coach who's from the community comes in and you're dealing with this trauma and this, you know, adversity, how are they going to approach the situation? How are they going to overcome it? And then you start developing all these like culturally specific solutions. Like that's where you get like sheep camp. That's where you get like Navajo language, and you get all of these sort of cool, fun, sort of like, for me, what felt like novel concepts that we're able to explore. And it really helped us, you know, sort of. I feel like try to take a new spin on the how of a sports movie.